ladies and gentlemen. We've invited first class, now we're inviting executive platinum, emerald, sapphire.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and I'm very pleased to welcome back McScrooge Lee Harris. How are you?
Oh, very good, thank you. Was that McScrooge?
Well, you know what? Last week you were just so about everything travel. So I thought I was going to call you Scrooge, and then it turns out that it's not all bad this week. So I'm feeling kind of bad about the name I chose for you.
Yeah, no, it's not all bad. I mean, it's not great. Let's be honest. But it's not all bad. It's not as bad as last week where it was just hideous. But this week I'm not quite Scrooge. I'm sort of halfway in between, I think.
Well, and I have to mention that Crew Travel is brought to you weekly by Blue Marine Travel, who haven't lost a passenger since Lee and I were born back in the late 1900s. So that's a good thing when you're in travel.
It is a good thing. Very good thing indeed.
I agree. And you know what? We got to start off with South Africa, because that has been sort of the one that has been dominating straight across the board in social media right now. Seeing as last week there was a lot of issues, and South Africa is probably one of those countries that has been the strongest when it comes to quarantine and when new viruses pop up. What's going on out of South Africa now?
A little bit good news. Over the past 2 weeks, Qatar Airways had banned all travellers from South Africa on its flights out of the country. However, in 2 days, that is set to change. The airline is reinstating twice daily passenger services out of Johannesburg and a daily service from Cape Town. Qatar had continued to fly to South Africa after news of the Omicron variant emerged and to carry people on their way there. However, it wasn't, they were unable to accommodate departing South African travellers. The airline now, though, will operate twice daily between Johannesburg and Doha and daily from Cape Town. This is from December the 12th. Qatar will operate both routes with its Boeing 777s, and any crew who were affected by the ban over the past couple of weeks may now rebook their tickets for one of these new flights.
Great. And the Netherlands?
Yeah, so the Dutch Minister of Health has announced this past week that starting from February 2022, the country's authorities will only recognise COVID-19 vaccination certificates that indicate that the holder has received a booster shot. Accordingly, this means that the Netherlands will shorten the validity of vaccination certificates from 12 to 9 months. And all those who don't meet this requirement will be required to follow additional entry rules. It's also believed in the coming weeks, all EU member states will join the Netherlands in making vaccination validity the standard 9 months instead of the 12 that it currently is at the moment.
Well, and an interesting fact is that there's a lot of countries that are requiring vaccine passports, especially in Europe, and I know Canada as well. But to go into, restaurants over 50 or just restaurants, period, as in Canada's case, you have to show proof that you've been, and I think France is the same, actually. You have to show your vaccination certificate before you're even allowed through the door.
Yeah, we do here now in New Zealand. It came in this last week. So if we want to go in a restaurant or whatever, we have to show our COVID vaccine certificate on the app or whatever it's on. If you don't have it, you can't come in. So it's I don't know if it sits right with me or not, to be honest with you. I think it divides people. But there we go. It is what it is, I guess, and we have to do what we have to do. But yeah, they all seem to be now closing it down to 9 months instead of the original 12 months. So it means a further jab in your arm each year.
I hate needles. Like I would be the worst drug user. But I mean, I see a needle coming and I start crying. It's like, when you become an adult and you cry at the sight of a needle, people look at you funny. People look at me funny anyway, but yeah, I don't know. Now I'm looking at, I've had my two shots. So now I'm knowing, I had it back in June, I think. So now knowing that I have to go and get a booster shot is causing me a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah, yours will be coming up soon then. So yeah, probably February, March time, you'll be ready for another one.
Yay, go me.
Something to look forward to in the new year.
I know. No, I'm not getting presents. I'm getting another jab.
Yeah.
How exciting.
Very lucky.
What's going on in Brazil?
Yeah, Brazil banned unvaccinated travelers will need to quarantine for 5 days after arrival from Saturday, December the 11th. So Saturday just gone. Despite the new quarantine rule, Brazil remains one of the few countries still welcoming unvaccinated travelers, albeit subject now to a negative test result before departure as well. All travelers to Brazil will still need to submit a negative PCR test result before departure and make a declaration to Brazil's health regulator. Unvaccinated travelers will now also need to submit another test result after the 5-day quarantine period and provide Brazilian authorities with contact details.
It's quite interesting coming out of Brazil, because I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, Brazil was like the one country that was like, put on blinders and said the virus didn't exist. They were just kind of like,
yeah, I mean, I think he's still, I mean, from what I read and from what I see, I mean, it seems to be they're still sort of not denying it as much, but downplaying it more than most countries. And it seems that he's the president or the prime minister, I'm not quite sure what I have in Brazil. His arm has been forced, shall we say, into making unvaccinated travelers quarantine. I don't think it's his choice solely.
Interesting. What's going on in Spain?
Yeah, the Spanish authorities have announced that strict entry rules will now apply to all persons who enter the country after staying in one of the areas that have been affected by the newly detected COVID-19 Omicron variant. According to the latest update of entry rules, all persons who enter Spain from one of the countries that currently falls under the high-risk countries list must present a PCR negative test result, which must be taken within 72 hours before arrival, and also take their Spain travel health form. The requirement to present a negative test result when reaching Spain from high-risk countries applies to everyone. That's including those who've been fully vaccinated or recovered from the COVID-19 disease. Spain's high-risk list currently includes Botswana, Lesotho, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. Basically, what this means is that only fully vaccinated and recovered travelers will also hold a negative PCR test will be allowed entry. Anyone who cannot present the required documents will be denied entry into the country.
Look, I've said it before. I think, regardless of the fact that you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, you're still fully capable of carrying the virus. So, it's just a smart move, period, to be tested, to have everybody be tested prior to getting on board, because that's how this is being spread straight across the planet, is people traveling. So if you require everyone to be tested prior to getting on board, the likelihood that you're going to start pushing this in other countries is a lot less.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. Test at the airport before you depart, test on arrival. It's a simple process. It should be a simple process now anyway. We're over 2 years into this now. The technology's there to be able to test people quickly. And so, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Absolutely perfect sense.
Oh, well, once again, Queen of the World. Did we miss the Queen of the World part last week? I don't know.
I think we may possibly. Yeah, I think we had a week where you were not Queen of the World.
That's just, we've got to make up for that. I'll fit it in again sometime this interview. Now, we have had crew around the world talking about transit through the US. Now, I have to say, there are a lot of keyboard warriors out there and people that think they know everything that there is to know about everything. Do not trust what's written on the internet. If you want an expert's opinion, go to an expert for advice. And when you do find that expert, don't argue with them, because I don't, just because, come on. Yeah. What have the biggest questions been right now in regards to the transit through the US?
Yeah, so basically, I just want to address the current situation with regards to being able to transit the USA to a third country. Like you say, I've noticed several social media posts on yachting websites which have a lot of misinformation, I've got to say, attached to them. And the problem is that is then being disseminated to more people. And it's not, it then filters through from social media to the questions that we're getting asked on email as well. And it, unfortunately, is misinformation. But anyway, the current state of play is that anyone from a high-risk country, those now being South Africa, Namibia, Mozambique, Lesotho, and Zimbabwe, may enter the USA if they hold a US B1, B2, or C1D and are joining a vessel in US waters. However, they cannot transit the USA to a third country. It's just not doable, unfortunately. For anyone who is not traveling from a red list country or being in a red list country in the preceding 14 days, they are free to enter the USA, and they can also transit the USA to a third country, no problems whatsoever. There are no restrictions on these for seafarers. Like I said, I've seen quite a few posts claiming European crew are unable to transit the USA to a third country. This is totally incorrect and infactual, and they can currently do it as of this time.
Wonderful. Folks, you heard it here from a travel expert. That is what you should listen to, not, John Doe on Facebook, who once transited through the US 20 years ago.
Let's hope John Doe's not listening. Because we've just upset him.
That's all right. I'm known for offending people, so why stop now? News out of the Caribbean, St. Kitts specifically.
Yes, beginning December 11th, fully vaccinated international travellers, nationals and locals who arrive by air into St. Kitts and Nevis will no longer be required to take PCR tests when they arrive, nor will they have to undergo the destination's vacation in place 24-hour quarantine. Only vaccinated travellers are permitted to visit St. Kitts and Nevis. This includes children 12 and older who will also be required to be fully vaccinated in order to enter the destination.
Right, and we have crew questions.
We do, yeah. Again, I'll give you £1 if you can guess what it's about.
U.S. transit?
No, close. It's South Africa. It had to be one or the other, didn't it? You lost £1.
Actually, you know what? Mind. If I could actually lose £1, that would be great. But I'm not talking about the money wise.
Anyway, we received the same question this week from both Jade and Kaylee, who wanted to know if crew traveling from South Africa were able to enter the Maldives to rejoin their yacht. Now, I have reached out to my contact in the Maldives. Thank you, Mohammed, for the advice. And unfortunately, it's not good news at the moment, I'm afraid. Currently, anyone traveling from South Africa are not allowed to enter the Maldives. And unfortunately, there is no exemption for seafarers in place. So I am ending on a bad note. I do apologize. And yeah, unfortunately, Jade and Kaylee, it's not good news.
What if they were to go to, say, for example, another country for 2 weeks and then go to the Maldives?
Yeah, I mean, if you can find a country that's prepared to take you for 2 weeks for non-essential travel, you can do your 14 days out of the country and then you can travel onwards. Some yachts are doing this. For other places, I know Pepite, Tahiti, places like that, they're moving people from South Africa to other places, doing the 2-week quarantine and then putting them into the countries. So it's doable that way. That's the information that we try to give people, if they are desperately trying to get back to their yachts. It's just a matter of finding what countries will take you at this time. But if anybody's got any questions, obviously, please reach out and we're more than happy to help.
I think that's probably the biggest difficulty right now because, things change so quickly and you never know where it's going to go. You've been away from your family for so long. It looks all wide open and it's great. You're going to go home, finally get to go home and see your family. You take that trip and then all of a sudden everything shuts down again and you're kind of stranded. So it really is making any sort of travel whatsoever difficult because you don't know if once you get home that you're going to be stuck there, or if you book the flight that, the day before or the day of that flight, all of a sudden that country's locked down. It's just so up in the air. It's almost like, you don't even want to travel anymore.
It is, especially like you say, especially for crew who come to the end of their rotation and they're looking to go home. We talk about countries like South Africa, New Zealand, another one, Australia. Do they take the risk of going back to that country and then have to worry about in a month or 2 months' time when their rotation is back to start again, if they can get back to the yachts? That's the reality that they're living with, and that's quite a lot of stress to put on people as well, whether they're going to be able to keep their jobs. And like we've said before, I know certain jobs that have come up, they are specifically saying that they won't take Kiwi crew, New Zealand crew, because they can't sign them off because of the MIQ system. So, there is a lot going on in the background for crew who are looking to either travel to work or from work. It's not straightforward. It's not simple, and our hearts go out to them because it is really difficult at this time.
Yeah, it's pretty much like if you get a job, just go work and don't take any time off until the pandemic's over. But as we see, it doesn't look like it's going to be over anytime soon because we keep popping up with new variants of this COVID virus, and you know, then it just extends it a little bit longer, and so on and so forth.
Exactly right. You know, you just don't know when you're going to get off. If you're going to try and wait it out, who knows how long it's going to be. That's the catch-22 a lot of crew find themselves in, I guess. What do? They don't know what to do for the best. It is tricky times, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, who knew 3 years ago that we would be in this position today? It's a strange, you know, we watch these movies, I think, these sort of like end of times movies, and you just think, wow, can you imagine? Can you imagine? And then it happens, and it's like a bad movie.
It is, yeah, and it's just the indefinite of it. Nobody knows when it's going to end, or if it's. I mean, it's not going to end, is it? Let's not kid ourselves. This is something we're going to have to live with. Yeah, I don't know. It's just strange. Yeah, very strange times to be living in. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, there was just a news report out of the UK this morning stating that they're imagining that this omnivirus, this latest sort of strain of COVID, is going to kill by April another 50,000 people, they expect.
Yeah, I know. It's mad, isn't it? You don't know what to believe, either, do you? Some people will tell you it's not that bad. Other people are saying it's going to kill 75,000 people. Who knows? I don't know. I try not to listen. If I'm totally honest, I try not to listen to any media, because I don't know what to believe and what not to believe.
Look, I just stay home.
That's a wise move.
Right? But I still find lots of trouble just by staying home too, so.
But this is you, Ria. I mean, most people would be okay.
Well, the trouble finds me. It doesn't matter. I could be behind a locked door underneath, at the core of the earth, and trouble would find me some way or another.
Yeah. It's true. It is true.
Anyways, Lee, thank you very much. It actually has been a bit better news this week, and hopefully next week it's going to be good news again.
Let's hope we're on an upward trajectory. Fingers crossed anyway.
Yeah, well, knocking on wood. We've said that before, right? And guess what happened? So we shouldn't really say anything. I have to mention again that Crew Travel is brought to you by Blue Marine Travel, who haven't lost a passenger since Lee Harris and I were born back in the late 1900s. So I hope you have a great week. And to everybody out there, don't forget to follow Lee on LinkedIn. We will provide that link for you, as well as Blue Marine website, because, well, everything you need to know is there.
Yep, true. We will give as much information as we possibly can.
I don't know where you find time to work, or if that is your job, updating LinkedIn.
That's not my job. I do that in my spare time, to be honest with you.
You have spare time?
My spare time between work and kids. That's what I do for a hobby.
Well, it's insane. I mean, the amount of links that go up on LinkedIn and the information. So yeah, and I would suggest for all those keyboard warriors out there, before you keyboard warrior yourself into all the wrong information, do contact Lee and get the right information.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, reach out to me. Happy to help as much as we possibly can.
Brilliant. You have been watching another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I have been your host. We'll see you again next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're boarding passengers seated in zones E and F.